Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are studying the last two portions of introduction to Bhagavad-Gita, and the last thing that whatever yesterday somebody spoke about was about the personal aspect of the Lord's abode. Where Lord is situated, it is not unmanifested. So, people do not know anything about the Lord's address. Then how come they will be able to know the personality aspect of it? So, absolute truth is not void, neither it is impersonal. When Krishna is asserting that even though impersonal aspect is his, but it is difficult to understand even because they themselves are personified. A person who is manifesting himself in the body, for him it is difficult to contemplate on the impersonal of the Lord, because he does not understand himself that what it is. So he bluffs. While Krishna is not only want to ascertain his personality, the Supreme Personality, but at the same time he wants to make people aware that he has in his abode where he stays. And if his soul, once achieving that, does not have to come back in this miserable material world, which is temporary and painful. So, therefore, achievement of the abode has to be understood. How? One has to think very actively through the medium of what? Not mind, not intelligence, but himself in the realized position that he is an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme and divine in nature. So, unless and until one understands his spiritual aspect, there is nothing that is eternal besides it. Everything is temporary. So, today, turning from the impersonal aspect that they get lost, Now, he is saying that in the next, one may raise the question of how one goes about approaching the abode of the Supreme Lord. Information of this is given in the 8th chapter. It is said there, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalervaram yah prayati samadbhavam jati natra na samshaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. That's 8th chapter, 5th verse. One who thinks of Krishna at the time of his death goes to Krishna. One must remember the form of Krishna. If he quits his body thinking of this form, he surely approaches the Supreme Kingdom, the spiritual kingdom. Madbhavam refers to the supreme nature of Supreme Being. The Supreme Being is Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, his form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Our present body is not Satchidananda. It is asat and not sat. It is not eternal. It is perishable. It is not chit, full of knowledge, but it is full of ignorance. And we have no knowledge of the spiritual kingdom, nor do we even have perfect knowledge of this material world, where there are so many things unknown to us. The body is also nirananda. Instead of being full of bliss, it is full of miseries. All of the miseries we experience in this material world arise from the body. But one who leaves this body thinking of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at once attains Satchidananda body. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided what form of the body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entities himself, make this decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain a spiritual body just like the Lord's. As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists, the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned in the Brahmajyoti spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. And number of these planets is far, far greater than all of the planets of this material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the creation in Kaunshena Jagatosthita. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes and trillions of planets and suns and stars and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who desires to merge into existence of Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahmajyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. But the devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable. And the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansions as Narayan with 4 hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Niruddha, Govinda, associates with him there. Therefore, at the end of life, the transcendentalists think either of the Brahmajyoti, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. In all cases, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotee he who is the personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters into Vaikuntha planets or Golok Vrindavan planet. The Lord further adds that of this, there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or the personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky. There is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelieving. The Bhagavad-Gita, 8th chapter, 6th verse, also explains the general principle that makes it possible to enter the spiritual kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme Personality of Supreme at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevram tam tam tamaiveti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his present body, in his next life, he will attain to that state without fail. Now, first we must understand that material nature is a display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. In the Vishnu Puran, 6th canto, 7th chapter, 61st verse, the total energies of the Supreme Lord are delineated. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Kshetra Tatha Para Avidya Karma Samjnana Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. The Supreme Lord has diverse and innumerable energies which are beyond our conception. However, great learned sages or liberated souls have studied these energies and have analyzed them into three parts. All of the energies are Vishnu Shakti, that is to say that they are different potencies of Lord Vishnu. The first energy is Para, the transcendental. The living entities also belong to the superior energy, as already been explained. The other energies, material energies, are in the mode of ignorance. At the time of death, either we can remain in the inferior energy of this material world, or we can transfer to the energy of the spiritual world. So Bhagavad-Gita, 8 chapter 6 verse says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tam tameti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his present body, in this his next life, he will attain to that state without fail. So, this material energy is further understood that in life we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from material energy to spiritual energy? There are so many literature which fill our thoughts with the material energy, newspapers, magazines, novels, etc. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in this literature, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas. The Puranas are not imaginative. They are the historical records. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 20th chapter, 122nd verse, there is the following verse. Maya mugdha jivera nahi swatah Krishna gyan jivera kripa kaila Krishna Veda Puran. The thoughtful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they are engrossed in the thinking of material activities. Just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasa has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Veda into 4, and then he explained them in the Puranas. And for the less capable people, he wrote Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata there is given in Bhagavad-Gita. Then all the Vedic literature is summarized and the Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, he gave natural commentation on Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We must always engage our mind in reading these Vedic literatures, just as materialists engage their minds in reading newspaper, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures. We must transfer our reading to these literatures which are given to us by the Vedavyasa. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord, and He guarantees the result, there is no doubt. Tasmat sarvakaleshu sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha maya arpitam manorbuddhi mamai vaishyasi asamshayah. Therefore, Arjun, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time continue your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. One more. He does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this society, material world, in the order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided according to work into 4 divisions and social orders: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. And the Brahmanas class or intelligence class is working in one way, the Kshatriyas or administrative class is working in another way, and the mercantile class and the laborer class are all tending to their specific duties. In the human society, whether one is a laborer, merchant, administrator, or farmer, or even if one belongs to the highest class and is a literary man, a scientist or theologian, he has to work in order to maintain his existence. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation. But while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna, Mamanusvara. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says, Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. One should practice the chanting of the holy name of the Lord always. The names of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. So, Lord Krishna's instructions to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's instruction to always chant the names of Krishna are the same instructions. There is no difference because Krishna and Krishna's names are non-different. In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and the referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting His name and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember Him always. How is this possible? The Acharyas have given following example. If a married woman is attached to another man, or if a man has an attachment for a woman of other than his wife, then the attachment is considered to be very strong. One with such an attachment is always thinking of the loved one. The wife who is thinking of her lover is always thinking of meeting him. Even while she is carrying out her household chores. In fact, she carries out her household work even more carefully so her husband will not suspect her attachment. Similarly, we should always remember the Supreme Lover, Sri Krishna, and at that same time perform our material duties very nicely. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty and at the same time remember Him. But we have to develop that sense of love. Arjuna, for instance, was always thinking of Krishna. He was the constant companion of Krishna, and at the same time he was a warrior. Krishna did not advise him to give up fighting and go on to the forest to meditate. When Lord Krishna delineates the yoga system to Arjuna, Arjuna says that the practice of this system is not possible for him.
You don't have to read it all today, Brahma.
Huh?
You don't have to read it all today.
Yeah. So I'll stop from here because the subject of remembering is coming, after all, to remember. And Arjun has a question, which is a valid question for everyone, that how is it that even though the practice of remembering is given and we are not able to remember? Right? So, starting from the impersonalist and the obstacles of our mindset, because they confuse the innocent people, and that they are always under kind of maya on their own. Maya mugdhe rajiva, Krishna bhuli gela. So in this sense, the odds of forgetting are always lurking us. That even we try to cram it and remember it, and yet we fail. So, but trying is like fighting, and we have to continue. As long as you are existing, you have to fight this ignorant pattern. To remove ignorance, the Vedas have been given. So let's think on that aspect, and with this conclusion aspect, to come to the ultimate that will help us to remember Krishna always. That is the entire sum and substance that we have to master. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulmilitan Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitanscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Shri Hari Priya Vancha Kalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, again, Srila Prabhupada approaches to that $64,000 question, which puzzles us all the time. But how to do it? He gives stepwise instructions. All right? When you read Bhagavad-Gita, now reading means remembering, but what do you have to remember? What Krishna prefers. There are so many things, and if we think, it is too much for me to understand. But Bhagavad-Gita is spoken very precisely. And it is understood only by pure devotees. And therefore those who have understood it, they are bona fide to disseminate the same knowledge. That means it comes, the purpose of the sampradaya or amnaya, where we are in discipline and performing all those activities in understanding very, very systematically. Because ultimate aim is to remember Him so we can go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada is so much liberal that because he is a pure devotee, he can make a special request for his followers. Because this is a question which is perturbing everybody. When an accidental death of a devotee occurs, and he is seemingly unable to remember, people take it. It's instant. Instant. And there are instances that without any incidental provocation or anything, person passes away. And it happens to be a spiritual master, and that of the high stature of Srila Prabhupada, confident, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and everybody is perplexed. How? And somehow that I was also looking for a ticket on the same day to go, and I didn't get, but I was going to USA and he was going to New Zealand. My friend Kalasamvar got his wife's ticket, and they were jumping. Wow, because Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is accompanying. So they are going with him. And I was supposed to go somewhere else in the completely opposite direction, and I didn't have a ticket. It was that a short call. So, when he passed away in the morning accident, immediately, there were a lot of questions were floating around. Why this way? Why this way? And this news fell all over the world, instantly. Even our Doordarshan, the official TV of India government, they were showing the live update in Mayapur. Live. And I was supposed to take a flight, all right? Nothing happened, but we started glorifying, and Sridhar Maharaj was conducting, and my turn came about 1:30 in the afternoon, all right? Lots of Chinese devotees coming for the first time. They were swinging like swans in their attire, the Chinese type of saris or whatever it is, and clothes. So and they were completely under shock. Just for their sake, this glorification started just to engage them, So when my turn came, and I hardly spoke about 1.5 minutes, Siddha Swami said, Vedavyasa, cut short, you got a phone call. And that's about it. I ignored it. And I spoke further about half a minute more. And another phone came. And he began, Vedavyasa, get away! And he took away mic from my hand. I said, and when I die, then you tell everybody that I made you life member. So then I had to go to Singapore to catch a flight from Singapore to Amsterdam and then to New York. So what happened, in Singapore they already kept and alerted that Vedavyasa Maharaj is coming. So I was put at Tamakasha Maharaj Goswami's, his disciples' place, and everybody started coming. Oh my God, why, Maharaj, why? Then I remember, the simplest answer, that don't think, don't speculate that Tamakasha Maharaj may not have remembered. But even though he did not remember, because that was our conditioning before. But Krishna never forgets what you did for him. You have to remember Krishna for salvation. And if you are unable to remember, Prabhupada is going a step ahead, on his own credibility of pure devotional service and tells, Krishna never forgot. He tells Arjun that you forget when the body is changing. You forget. You are bound to forget. But Krishna is always cognizant of everybody's, who is doing forward. Now, you can understand the depthness of the faith that is fructifying in understanding the personality of Godhead. Personality of Godhead. For impersonal, even though they are person, they bluff. But when some of their colleagues pass away, they start also eulogizing how he was, how his qualities were, and this and that. So, and in belief impersonal, but in practice personal. So these are confused people. They are confused people. And they confuse those who are ignorant of all spirituality. They simply glorify the external appearance and how they speak. But in their speaking, there is no realization. Or it may be partial. So, but where does it stop? It stops in completely negating oneself, that you were once upon a time very active and personal in behavior. They say, oh, the body after all is mud. And you can make a pot from mud. So this was a pot. And when pot breaks, the air or the so-called spirit, impersonal, we do not know anything, it merges into the larger pot. That's called universe. This pot business is so much befooling, and Mayavadi creeped out. They say, forget the pot. If you don't like the word pot, you are God yourself. You are Krishna. So in any case, this is not a conviction, but it's a confused state. They are not convinced. And whenever you ask a question, they say, it is not, it is not, it is not. Neti, neti, neti. They negate. They are so obstinate to negate. Besides that, Prabhupada was a die-hard personalist and had personal relationship because he knew Krishna and he was seeing Krishna. Then he is able to enter into Krishna's pastimes. Because that's what Krishna says. Gyatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Where does praveshtum? Praveshtum is to enter into the intricate dealings with the personality. So those who are impersonal, they simply are confused and they misguide the people in general. Right? So, rising about their so-called belief, they say that because knowledge is power, to know, it is the business of the Vedas, it is filled with knowledge. But do not conclude. There is no conclusion. Because something, Prabhupada was very, very adamant to knock that out. When our Jehu temple was under construction, I think it is in 1975, when Nathji Das who passed away, Nathji Das was a student of this Mayavadi sannyasi, Chinmayananda. He would go to Powai because that is the big ashram. But then from Powai, he has to return through Andheri. So he would go to Juhu and see Srila Prabhupada. And he was like some super intelligent because he studied in Harvard. He would take a question and wanted to understand a little more on both the sides. So he would ask a question to Srila Prabhupada and get his answer. And then he will go to Chinmayananda and he will ask the same question. All right? So again, he will ask question to Chinmayananda, another one, and then I will try to see what is the difference in the answer by Srila Prabhupada. All right? And his friends were also knowing this. So sometimes his friends said, we would like to see Swami. So they brought, he brought them to Srila Prabhupada, and Nathji introduced. They are students of Bhagavad-Gita, studying in Powai. So Prabhupada asked them the question, so what is the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita? What is the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita? Then none of them dared to speak, and somebody blurted out, "Oh Swamiji, there is no conclusion in Bhagavad-Gita. Every day you read, you get a different meaning. So you forget the previous day's understanding." Yeah. That's in the conversation also. And Prabhupada took up the opportunity. He became so angry and thumped it. Who said there is no conclusion in Bhagavad-Gita? Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Because you don't have faith in his person and you cannot understand the personality aspect. So why are you called yourself student of Bhagavad-Gita? Prabhupada was heavy. And everybody took, just like they have been attacked, and there is no way to survive. And then that person who blurted out, said, "Oh Swamiji, hum to aapke darshan ke liye hi aaye the. We just came to have your darshan." The Prabhupada said, "Darshan ho gaye?" Darshan means to see. Did you see Krishna's personality through his devotees? I mean, we cannot tolerate such, people. So, Nathji went, and he was asking something about bhakti. All right? I also attended when I was doing my final master's in Baroda. He came, Chinmayananda came to give a discourse for 3 days on bhakti-yoga in 12th chapter. I didn't get a damn thing in my mind. I don't remember what he spoke, this. I said, forget it. I didn't appreciate. But Nathji went and talked to him. Swami Maharaj, can you explain this verse? Then he got a click. If you want knowledge, you stay here. If you want bhakti, go to Bhaktivedanta Swami. Yes. He told, and he said, "Thank you very much, bye-bye." So Nathji came, and he became very, very hooked up on ISKCON, Anyway, because Nathji was interested in bhakti, because it was in his blood. His mother invited Prabhupada in his house. "Swamiji, please come and take prasad in my house." and Prabhupada went. So he was a fresh graduate from Harvard at that time, and So the point is that you get personal aspect through what Prabhupada brought. Otherwise, hardly anywhere in India somebody can explain like Prabhupada. There is none existing. All right? I mean, Gaudiya Math, yes, it comes from there. But even though what Prabhupada would explain in the simplest term, any bhakta-yoga can become a pure devotee. So that is the question. So Prabhupada is talking very relevantly, that first he said to know my personality, you have to know my surroundings. The personality can be approached not just like walking, talking, and you get to understand the personality. No, there is a staying place, okay, or what we call the dham. Anatad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yadgatvana nivartante tad dhamam parama. So he explains, Prabhupada explains here about the vastness of material sky, and yet we do not know anything about it. Most of the understanding by the astronomers, and that is simply a very imperfect, speculation. Speculation is also imperfect. And they change every time. They have no shame. Nothing fits. All right? And they can't do welfare to anybody. They spoil the money. Trillions of dollars they have been spending. Yeah. You won't be imagining. Now, I have told one time, and it is still on your, if you Google, CERN, CERN is a big, huge institute to do this scientific research about the God particle. Now, they say God particle. It's a particle. A particle has a shape, size, everything. And yet, they say, this is the cause. But his qualities are completely anti-particle. So Prabhupada was keeping up all that is scientific understanding right from the very beginning. And therefore, he wrote the very first booklet, Easy Journey to Other Planets. And he describes this particular Nobel Prize winning God particle guys. And they are still active. They are failing, but still active. NASA said to ISRO when Chandrayaan-2 failed, "Oh, don't be disappointed. We have also failed many times." Keep on doing what you are doing. So that's a big boost for ISRO. So now they are saying that the smallest particle, an atom, when it is splitting, they, on their calculation, the mass means the proton and neutron together, and electrons are moving around. Even in a dead matter, electrons are moving around. They don't understand where is this energy coming from. So let's split the energy by energy. So they are splitting the nucleus, which is proton and neutron together, by electrons, bombard So the sun is an institute which has a, say, 25-mile radius tunnel under, a mile under. It is located between France and Switzerland's border. Geneva is the headquarters of Sun. Right? Now, in this institute, with the modern nanophotography, when the splitting is there, the energy is emanating, the particles are in, so they will very quickly do the photograph. And they found some particles which are escaping. And they name it Higgs boson. Boson means Satyendranath Basu is an Indian scientist, and Professor Higgs both came to this postulation, because Einstein also, postulated that a mysterious energy, right, is coming up elementally. So this mystery has to be unlocked. Therefore, they started the first experiment at a 10-mile radius tunnel underground, because they're going to bombard, So in that is south of Dallas, Texas. What's called Waxahachie is the place. But somehow or other something went wrong and they have to abandon the project. And then they got together, 2,500 scientists. They got together to do this song. And there are many Indian scientists for the prestige. But anyway, we found it. But there are several particles. Which is responsible for life, creation? How many are there? Oh, there are also so many. As if Vishnu's expansions are so many. And they are all included in one little atom. So subparticular there. But when the first research was there, Prabhupada picked up, because that article was published in 1956 in Times of India, and Prabhupada puts up that article in Easy Journey of Other Planet. There are three propositions there. Prabhupada said that first proposition of the scientists that they got Nobel Prize was that there exists a particle which was called the antiparticle, because they behave completely different from the material particle. They behave. So second proposition, there must be existing an antiparticular world. And Prabhupada said, yes, we agree. And the third proposition was that in given time and space, if both the particular and antiparticular world come together and collide, there will be total devastation. And Prabhupada said, no, we do not agree with this. So Prabhupada is pulling up their nose, come to the personal aspect as given in Bhagavad-Gita. The particles are there. If the whole world is a particular world, if the particles, then particles also have qualities. Those who have qualities, they have temperament. They have temperament, and they have behavior, and they agree with all this. So where is the question of impersonal aspect? Krishna has pervaded in each and everything, like Paramatma is pervaded. So, to come to that in a scientific way, to understand, Prabhupada is putting us on that platform of realizing that Krishna consciousness is not a bluff thing. It can be personally experienced. Simply we have to take a very humble attitude to understand. Arjun's surrender was the first requisite, so he can be imparted some knowledge. Confusion and not remembering and everything is there, including the mind which has been absorbed in so many material aspects. That we'll read tomorrow, But the idea is that to understand Lord Krishna's personality, the personal abode has to be described. And how this personal abode is to be described, immediately Prabhupada picks up. Na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamam paramam. Where there is no need of sun, moon or electricity. And we have to go there. Why? You will never come back. Then those who are in bodily conception, oh my God, if we go there and don't come back, no, I want to come back. I have all of my people here. So again, covered up in complete ignorance. But the spiritual world, when you say that this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So actual things are there manifesting in dynamic activities, we call lila, and they are perpetual. They are perpetual. So the idea is that how from physical state of inertia, this is total material understanding is a state of inertia. To wake up the soul, how many different ways you can try according to time, place and circumstances to make people understand, to come out from the lethargy. And a very logical explanation is there. But because of enviousness, you become impersonal. Because of enviousness, we become impersonal. Have an experience. Husband, wife fight in the same house, and they immediately become impersonal. Who cares you? Who cares you? That impersonalism is the result of enviousness. So, if you want to know the personality aspect, idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshami anasuyave, because you are not envious of me. Bhaktosi sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. One has to become a devotee and connected in relationship with Krishna, Sakha. So, we get the complete, knowledge about Lord Shri Krishna, Krishna's personality. Prabhupada is putting this personality aspect in very concluding remarks in this introduction. Though so many subjects have been described, Bhagavad-Gita has 5 subjects, 5 subjects of Bhagavad-Gita, and out of that 4 are eternal. Only 1 is not. Which one? Karma. So, the thinking is also subtle karma. Performance by physical activity is also karma. So, our association with the thoughts of being in a society or communication, even though we are alone, that is also subtly binding. Karma binds. Our thoughts are binding us. So when we are bound, how can we enter into the actual aspect of knowing oneself? All those who are binding must be slashed. That's called Hradaya Granthi, Sanshaya. Vidyate Hradaya Granthi, Chindyanti Sarva Sanshaya, Kshiyante Chasya Karmani, Drashta Eva Atmanishvare. Yeah. That is coming face to face to the personality within us. That is Paramatma. It's not that you are Paramatma. Sees himself as well as the personality. But because Paramatma is so subtle, smaller than the smallest, he is within the heart of the living entity, that atomic living entity. And there is a heart, means very, very deep core of his existence. And he is the one who is giving you all the necessity, so we can animate. Otherwise, so personality aspect has to be experienced. And Prabhupada very, very witfully is putting us on that threshold of accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we stop here. Anybody has any question?
You were talking about everything like
Mike में बोले.
I didn't understand that. Please, would you mind?
Yeah, even my
About the impersonal, to understand, I need to know this.
You did not understand
Yes, you were talking
impersonal?
about man, woman. In this case, I like to know.
Oh. When you fight with somebody
Yes.
and stop communication, you act impersonally. Isn't it? You don't care. You don't go, you stop communication. That is impersonal.
So they.
It may be temporary, but it's an example.
So that time when they are fighting, quarreling.
What is the cause of quarreling? Enviousness. You have different desire. Somebody has different desire, and therefore, your ego will grow and say, "No, I'm right." And she says, "No, I'm right." Okay, who the hell cares? Finally, you separate.
Okay, can you draw it straight to this example, straight to the Almighty God, Krishna?
Yeah.
How are we?
Ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Krishna explains in Sutta. He said, out of a separate desire which has been arisen simultaneously with hate, dvesh, the living entity fell into the delusion of duality. Without exception. Without exception. Sammoham. He is covered by the sammoham. Moham means one-sided. Sammoham means all-sided. This whole material world is a world of duality. There is hot, there is cold, dual. There is man and woman, is dual. And they are fighting. But in Krishna consciousness, you are all soul part and parcels of Lord Krishna. If one becomes a friend, he stops enmity. That is the first and foremost qualification to become a devotee. If we continue our bad habits of getting itchy, edgy, and unrestful, we become political, Political is also enviousness. All these things are there, and unless and until, if you are using it in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of spiritual master, oh, forget it. So, be careful. We fell into the delusion of duality because of these two factors. Now remove these two factors and you will come back to Godhead easily. Can you understand that? Our behavior becomes impersonal. We negate. Negation. We negate. And you will see in anybody's house, problems are there all the time existing because of enviousness.
Actually, also very much selfishness.
Huh?
Selfishness also. Selfishness.
Serve the devotees. Forget Krishna. Serve Srila Prabhupada, make him happy, and that is the measure. Krishna is happy. Prabhupada is happy if we serve and ISKCON together without any personal motivation or separate interest or this or that.
Maharaj, as you were speaking about the accident of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, so when the accident happened, and that time we are just shocked what happened. And
We're going to miss his association. That's a big shock. That's okay. But the explanation is that Krishna never forgets what you rendered the service. After all, our life is ultimately to serve Lord Shri Krishna through Guru, right? So, when one is leaving the body and serving, sannyasis were moving and the accident happens during transportation itself, So, be prepared. There is no accident in the life of a devotee who is committed. Everything is, we call, pre-arranged. Notice, if you become very controversial and there is no solution, Krishna will lift you up. So, all the problems subside automatically. Immediately, you might have quarreled all your life long, but as soon as he's gone, you always look for the good qualities for him, that you may be benefited. So, the devotional service will keep you in personal touch. So, there are a lot of cases, a lot of things are happening.
And also when you are sleeping, and in the sleep you get heart attack and this one, so how can we understand that?
Oh, that's all right. And many devotees passed away like that. But they come to know and they start glorifying. Always glorify the departed soul.
Devotee or non-devotee?
Don't worry about them. Yamaraj is our superintendent, biggest god brother. We are under his tutelage, and he has already organized. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. We've read, also heard from senior devotees that sometimes the prey of an accidental death do not get either the gross bodies or the transcendental body, spiritual body, but get something in the subtle bodies in between. Prey that Vishal is like this.
There are certain explanation in Srimad Bhagavatam about the hellish planets, that a devotee can also fall off. All right? But there is no inauspicious thing for him. Tyaktva Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam hare bhajan apakva patit tato yadi kova bhadra abhut amushyakim kovartha apto abhajatam sarvataha. Bhajatam and abhajatam. If a bhajatam is filled with all material qualities and fine, but he is not a devotee of Krishna, then he doesn't gain anything. But in the process of learning the devotional service, if one leaves the body in immature state, Narad Muni says this, that there is no inauspicious thing for him. So, appearance and disappearance are always to be glorified. One should not further analyze, what he has done so bad. If you want to gain, always take sar, means saragrahi Vaishnava. Absorb only good. Nirakshir Vivek. The Hansas, those who are stable in their mind about Krishna consciousness, they develop the attitude of Hansa, the swan who separates milk and only take the milk out of water. Like that. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.